There was a question during an event recently about someone, a friend of a friend, who managed to escape from a toxic relationship. And there was a question, a big question, what to do after, well, you break up with a toxic partner. Maybe they were a spouse, maybe they were just boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever situation. What to do after you break up, after you are free from the so called abuse. Well, first and foremost, one has to realize the impact that abuse does to you. And breaking free from abuse is what I call the zero to hero effect. Suddenly, when you are no longer in the abusive relationship, you feel like null and void. You've been feeling like that while you were during the abusive relationship because you always had to do everything for the other person as if you never even existed. Suddenly, those problems no longer exist, and this can be the biggest motive for relapse for a lot of people. Why? Because suddenly feeling that you have no more stability is a big problem. Yes, a lot of people relapse back into the toxic relationships because they lack this stability. Yes, they no longer have this fixed um, way of things that used to happen. Yes, the script is no longer comfortable. Now they are free to do everything that they would ever want. But the question is, are they actually finally free to simply give up the old self? See, when you leave a toxic relationship, the problem is you now have a big choice. You either relapse or you do everything possible to rediscover who you were, what you were, before everything started changing in your life or being changed by other people, before others told you how to be, what to do, and what to think. Yes? So, among the first things that I would ask people to do after they leave a toxic relationship is to cry as much about it. Don't do it necessarily at first with friends. Do it on your own because you have to realize your emotions. Crying is not a sign of weakness. That's how people control you. Abusive people, especially. People who don't care about you, even your friends or family. They're probably telling you constantly that crying is for wusses, crying is for babies, for women, and the such. Yes? Even women womanize one another through this. Yes? It's part of this idea of being comfortable with shitting on yourself. Yes, self-sabotage and running from who they truly are. Yes, and living around this persona where everything is horrible about them. It's the comfortable script that they get used to. So, among the first things to do, if not the first, always cry about it. 6 hours, 4 hours, 10 hours, whatever long, just do it. Because crying leads the way for a lot of bad emotions that are pent up within you. And they are simply let out of your body. That is the importance and that is the purpose of crying. Yes? Letting out all sorts of negative emotions that you have been piling up. Abusive people don't want you to cry because that's the only way that you will gain your power. Yes? The problem is, abusive people are just like a storm. They leave nothing standing, so basically you're literally, well, in shambles. You're literally a wreck. You're literally a ruin in terms of physical, emotional, and psychological states. Yes? When it comes to your physical part, your physical body, you probably haven't noticed any of your pains or any of the feelings that your physical body can get. It's all about giving to the others, and when you finally need some help, well, there's just crickets, right? So that's a point. Your emotions, you've not been listening to those. Yes, suddenly they're all screaming out that you need to do something, but what exactly to do? Well, first and foremost, as I said, cry about it. Let all the negativity out. You'll feel much lighter. Take showers after you cry so that you remove extra layers of that sadness from your physical body. Yes, a wind bath is also good if you live around areas where the wind blows pretty powerfully and you can stay in like a t-shirt and uh, soft fabric material clothes so that you're not closed off to the wind as much. so that when the wind blows around you, typically some people feel that, they feel lighter. Yes, it's a certain curation that the wind does. Taking bath is good because yet again it peels off certain layers of unwanted, unneeded energies within your physical body. And what other one has to do, first and most important, is, well, after crying, well, it is simply removing all the links towards the abusive person. Yes, one has to understand abuse is something important in one's life. It is something, a harsh lesson that one goes because the family and the environment you were grown in did not make you strong enough for certain situations. And, well, as things go, you will have to sooner or later find out the horrible sides of consciousness, not of humans. Once you start looking at things as if it's not some flaw aspect of us humans, it is something natural within consciousness. Even the grand consciousness turns against itself, and then, well, sooner or later things balance out. You are just a little tiny bit of that grand consciousness. So, obviously, everything that goes on at the largest scale possible will also happen in a miniature scale within you. When you look at animals, animals also abuse one another and they also abuse themselves if they have been taught to do that, if they have become comfortable with that. Yes, to a lot of animals, it is abuse. It is self-abuse when they grow up in, human apartments. Because at least when you have a garden, they have all the space that they would need to simply run and be free for a bit. But in an apartment, they give up their full freedom for the idea of the comfort that they have. Yes, free food, some sort of care, and whatever else. Yes, and that is yet another kind of self abuse. Animals can do that as well. So don't look at us humans as if we're the weird part, the flawed part of consciousness. It is abusive fuckers who end up teaching you that. Yes, narcissists need you to feel bad about yourself, to fight against yourself, so that you get distracted and tired enough that you can't even question your reality. Yes. Now, with these being said, blocking them on any social media that you've had, obviously, it is primordial. Yes. You don't want them to have access to you anymore. And what I would suggest is create a whole new set of social media accounts if you still want to make use of it anyways. When you create new social media accounts, obviously just never put the same pictures in there so that you cannot be recognized. Yes? And only invite 2 or 3 friends that were closest to you, because the moment you add new people, some of those so-called old friends will most likely snitch on you to the abuser yet again. Why? Because abusers have this powerful way of manipulating people. They always make you look like the bad one so that they can victimize. And they are most likely under the mind control of that person. So confronting abusers head on is never a good point because in many situations they can end up aggressive. And even if they harm you, they can still piss their eyes and people will still be convinced that they are the victim and they only lashed out in self-defense. So if you want to uh, confront one head on, always make them repeat their own words. Yes, like, I don't think I got that. I don't think I understood that. Can you please repeat? Because they already have hundreds of scripts pre-made in their mind with every possible situation when they will confront you. Yes, having them repeat those points is powerful because they never mean whatever they talk. When you have them repeat those things, you kind of ruin the script because the script is very fragile. It is very long, complex, and it's not the only one. There's hundreds. And they're very fragile. They're like a combo in video games. If you interrupt it somewhere, everything else afterwards may go to the drain. Yes? And one has to understand that becoming suddenly from zero to hero is a powerful situation. You now realize that you are at the lowest or almost the lowest that there can be. It is probably the best situation because imagine one thing, everything is wrong, everything is shit in your life, so literally anything has to be changed. You don't probably know what to, but at least you know that anywhere you'd work to change, obviously something is done good. Yes? Compare that to someone who's working in a business or whatever and they're 90% of their potential. Imagine how much stress they would have to figure out what exactly 10% to improve to bring that so-called business to their 100%. Also, not to forget that most likely, well, they will never perceive the 100% as being 100%, so they will push even harder. In your situation, you are in the easiest situation possible. Yes? Why? Because everything is wrong. You've tested and retested it. Mentally, psychologically, and even physically, it doesn't feel good, so you need to change it. Yes? Change your habits. Finally, start doing something that makes you more confident. Stare downs in the mirror can actually help a lot. They boost your own aura, they boost your own energy. Because when you live in abusive relationships, you are programmed to believe that everything is horrible about you, everything is bad about you. Yes? Even how people perceive religions may use that in narcissistic ways. Yes? Because there are some twisted beliefs regarding religion that even God thinks that you are horrible. Yes, you are born to simply be punished. This is one of the hideous reasons why I've never embraced religions in the end. Yes? And, well, because it doesn't matter. Okay. So the point is figure things out. Yes? Embrace anything that makes you feel physically good, that makes you feel emotionally good, and also psychologically good. Embrace the idea that you don't need people anymore to validate you, and you also don't need to validate anyone else. You are not worthy of anything in life. That is true. You have to fight for it. And abusive people teach you not to fight for things because, in inverted commas, they will be the ones to provide you. But in their language, providing you means control. Because whoever controls the supply, well, obviously, they have the full control. Because the request, right, the demand doesn't necessarily make the rules. Yes, the one who can provide is the one in charge. And if you give your full power to someone mentally, emotionally, and psychologically, that is abuse. A relationship is about some little overlap, but in the end, two individual beings coexisting. Yes? Even plants, when they live in symbiosis, they are not like fully overlapping. They have some tendrils, some extensions that are in communion, and that's it. They are still two completely different entities, and they share one another. Or plants, when they act in communion, for example, with fungi. Yes, a lot of fungi grow on their roots. Yes, and fungi give plants certain things that the plants can't synthesize, and well, fungi don't do photosynthesis, so they receive something in return from the plant. Similarly, you have to understand, in an abusive relationship, you ended up living in a duality. Yes, a part of you hated the situation you were in, but you never called yourself ready to give it up because it was too comfortable, and the other one hated everything else. Yes, everyone around and all the sources that imposed pain upon you. Yes, one hated you, and that's exactly what the narcissist will embrace within you, and will also desperately seek to improve within you, desperately seek to program you to live by. And obviously, the real part of you would hate everything else, the situation, the emotion, and everything else. Yes, and when the abusive person can be so charming, obviously you will take them into account, because when you feel low, obviously the others know better than you, right? It's one of the illusions that we live by. When you change your social media to something else, also make sure you either fully delete the old social media and also give up all those old photos and many of those friends who probably weren't even there in the first place. It's always best to have 4, 5, 6 friends, maybe 10 if not, that truly care about you, and maybe some others who are the external circle, people who don't know much about you, but the inner circle should always count the most. The outer circle is of friends that probably never gave a shit about you, probably don't even know what you look like, except from your pictures, but we know not always the people in the pictures are the persons that are spoken to. A lot of people use fake pictures, for example. Always, when you create new social media, simply add new pictures, go out in nature, get some new pictures, but for a long period of time. Don't take pictures of yourself so that and post them. Yes, don't post pictures of yourself soon, because the algorithms will prompt people towards your account very easily. Yes. So just put random pictures of nature or something, everything that you've never posted before. Yes, so that your account looks as unique and as distinctive as possible from the previous ones. Use a different name completely. If you don't feel safe of using your own name as you may have used, use something very weird, like, I don't know, your country name and goofball or whatever else. Something goofy, because in the end, your social media account, if you're not using it for a business, it's just there for a minor show. You're just posting some pictures that you probably will forget about. Yes, a lot of people don't actually use social media. They just post some shit in there and that's it. They don't probably touch it anymore. And if you want to rid yourself of the old accounts, which is best, simply do it. Yes, either delete them entirely, or if you want, simply replace the password with a fully random one that you came up in your mind, and replace that password with it. Then delete any trace of that password. This way you won't be able to log in, but you can still, if you crave for the abuser yet again, you can still recover the account. So deleting it is hopefully permanent, and well, it will go to the drain with the past as well. You have to understand, when abusive relationships end, when you draw a line, you go away and you never look back. Yes, make sure that you never get back. They will stalk you probably. They know all your habits. They exist in your energy field as well. You've invested a lot of energy and time into them. So they have definitely a free space in your mind. Whenever you feel about them or you think about them, just don't fight it. Don't fight the urge, because the mind will have a tendency to do that. When you fight something within the mind, you will only amplify it. So slowly and surely you will create yet again a longing for them. Every time you would feel for them or think about them, think about all the situations that you've gone with from an unbiased side as possible. Yes, look at all the good things and look at all the horrible situations as well. Look at those unbiased and draw a line. If it was a toxic relationship, take into account the good things as well, because in the end there were probably some good things. Or go through each of those again and again, and this may take time, but you will realize that things weren't exactly as the emotions you have attached to those. Yes, you are lying yourself that things were good. In fact, they were very horrible. Yes, in an abusive relationship, the emotional person ends up always creating excuses for the abuser. Maybe they had a bad day. Maybe I overreacted. Maybe you did something bad. Maybe you should have done this or that. They love the confusion in your mind. One type of people that abusers can't easily control is people who don't think much. People who don't take their mind seriously into account, either because they're stupid or because they're wise. Wiser people are hard to control because they don't need to make use of their mind. Most of them are simply purely intuitive. Others make use of their mind just for regular ideas and things like that. Yes. So when you leave a toxic relationship, one other thing you could do is start watching some cheesy dramas, some things that might make you cry, because you still need to let out a lot of negativity. Watch some abusive dramas. Yes, because you need to realize how much and what exactly you've gone through, because you've been living as a zero and now you need to reach the level of a hero, the hero of your own life, because a narcissist and toxic people will never teach you how to take care of you, how to take care of your health and the such. Do some medical checkups, maybe get yourself some massage, some therapy, some reflexotherapy as well, if money allows, because, well, abusive people are usually very good at draining you of all the resources. Yes. So the point is, get yourself into a situation where you can actually provide for yourself and no longer depend on others. Yes. So watch some dramas, watch some movies where the opposite gender is being abused. If you are a girl abused by a guy, watch a drama or a movie where, the reverse genders are in place. Yes, the girl is being abused instead by the guy, or the guy is being abused depending on what gender you are and who abused you. Yes, because you have to get a perspective of the fact that abusing is a part of consciousness. It does not care of what gender you have. It doesn't matter at all. Yes, and abusers will always have the same patterns. It doesn't also matter what kind of gender someone has. Abuse is abuse, whether it is emotional, physical, mental, whatever else. Yes, so this point is to be understood. Yes, look at things so that you get a point that the other gender can also be abused. Look at the movie carefully and see what situations were you gone through. Have you suffered the same? Have you suffered more or less? Those are also just examples because those are actors. Nothing is true, but it can serve as an important lesson. Anyone can get abused. Child, men, women, whatever else. Even animals. Yes? And it doesn't matter what the source is. Now you have to fully focus on yourself, on understanding what yourself is, what your talents are, what makes you tick. Yes? If you feel horny about things, just go wild. Allow your fantasy to flow free. If you feel like picking up a hobby, do it. Just try to do everything that you do from a as conscious possibility, as conscious stance as possible, because you don't want to become unconscious again. You don't want to live the mechanized state again, because the moment you slip back into unconsciousness, all the presupposed comfort that you felt along that person will obviously yet again feel tempting. Don't forget, you have them in your energy field, you have them in your mind, you have them anywhere. From a certain perspective, they are closer to you than you would ever think. Yes, and this will take years to cure. So, slowly and surely do things. Do not reject them. Because you have to understand an abusive person is also the victim of a toxic environment as well. Yes, there are a lot of lessons to learn, and hopefully you will get to learn them slowly and surely. Yes, there are other things I can talk about, but I fear this video has been going on for long enough. So take care, embrace life, and this being said, hopefully this video raised a bit of awareness. You are appreciated, and well, Finnish and Board signing out.